Hello and welcome to Paizo Live. My name is Aaron Shanks and I'm Paizo's Marketing and Media Manager. Today is Friday, August 13th, and I'm so happy to have you here with me today. Whether or not you're joining us live on Twitch or watching this video on YouTube. Today we've got 7 guests from the worlds of both Pathfinder and Starfinder to interview regarding their works, regarding products that are available now or just around the corner. In our first segment A, we'll be talking about Pathfinder Adventure Kindled Magic, the first volume in the Strength of Thousands adventure path. And then we'll move on to Starfinder Planetfall, the first volume in the Horizons of the Vast adventure path, because there's a connection between both of those adventures. And then we'll have a couple of guests talking about both of those products. And then each of our guests will have a Paizo Live spoiler for you, something that you can't find out anywhere else, and that has to do with an upcoming product that hasn't been released yet. And then we'll move on to part B, in which we'll talk about Starfinder JUNKE'S Delight, and then move on to Tech Revolution, one of the upcoming hardcovers that's just around the corner, and have more Paizo Live spoilers, and transition to even more guests in part C, in which we'll talk about organized play, Pathfinder Society, Starfinder Society, and achievement point boons. And lastly, saving one of our biggest products for last, Pathfinder Secrets of Magic. We'll spend a good 20-25 minutes on that at the end of our 2-hour show. I will give you a heads up that at the end of the 2-hour show, we're going to raid our friends who, let's see, there's a show that's going on. It's a Starfinder Humble Bundle show, and more about that soon, but we'll keep your schedule open because we'll raid their Starfinder one-shot. So let's go ahead right now and meet our guests. We'll start with Ron Lundeen. Welcome, Ron.
Hello. Thank you.
Now, nice to have you here. You are our secret as to why we're talking about both Pathfinder and Starfinder together in the first part of this show. Why don't you tell everybody first, though, what your title is, because I think that's a little fresh.
It is. I'm the secret connection. I am a development manager at Paizo. The day-to-day work that I had formerly done is on the Pathfinder Adventure Path line, including being the developer behind the Strength of Thousands Adventure Path. I recently got promoted to development manager, which puts me in charge of both the Adventure Path line, which I'm still working on, and the Lost Omens line, which has been a lot of fun, and the great sort of wonderful things that Luis Loza and Eleanor Farron are doing there. It's been fantastic. I'm excited about that. I'm excited particularly about Strength of Thousands and that adventure path. The connection is I'm also a pretty avid freelancer independently. I do a lot of writing for our Starfinder side, and the first adventure of the Horizons of the Vast adventure path, Planetfall, I wrote. So I'm the connection between both of these.
Exactly. Crossing our streams with both Pathfinder and Starfinder in one person, as so often happens with both our in-house staff and our freelance authors. Speaking of freelance authors, let me introduce you to Ali B. Ali B, welcome.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for joining our show. So tell us about yourself. What is it that, how do you identify as a creative? And what things do you do, and what brought you to the tabletop industry, and what have you been working on for Paizo? I'll cue you for all of those things. You don't have to say them all at once.
Let's see. So, hi, I'm Ali Bushton. I write and design for tabletop games, make some of my own independent systems. Jeez. I
Great.
don't know how to talk about myself.
And what have you? Let's see. We've had you here today specifically to talk about Kindled Magic, and I
Yeah.
believe you're the author of that first volume.
Yeah. I co-authored it with Eleanor, and
Indeed.
I definitely did the thing where I looked back at what I had written to prepare, and I wrote more than I thought I had. I wrote the second and third acts is probably the best way to put it of the adventure part one of the adventure path.
Mm-hmm. One of six. You know, I have to say some of the early reviews are coming in, and people love it. It's mischievous and playful, and yes, there's some combat, but that's not all there is. So I think it's got an interesting flavor to it that people are just beginning to discover. Um, what do you recall about your experience for writing that with Eleanor? How did that come about? Did she reach out to you directly?
There was a little bit of back and forth at the beginning, and then I did the thing that I kind of always do where I pick some media that'll be my big touchstone. In this case, it was The Magicians, but also like a little bit of Gossip Girl, a little bit of like CW drama kind of high school
Yeah,
settings.
because
And like,
this is not an elementary school this
no,
the Magambia is not an elementary school situation, is it?
no, this is like your grad school, your university. It's not really high school. It's definitely not elementary school.
Indeed,
Like
more
you're
grad school,
yeah.
young adults. Great. It's nice to hear about what some of your touch points were, inspiration for the work. Um, what else had you been doing with Paizo prior to Strength of Thousands? Were there other adventures or scenarios or rule books that you had been involved in,
Uh,
or was this your first experience?
the very first scenario that I wrote was Shadows of the Black Sovereign for organized play. And then from there, I've just been writing a bunch of other stuff like Mwangi Expanse, which just recently came out. I worked on a bunch of things there too that I didn't realize I wrote as much as I had. Uh, Also, some products that are coming up. Some that haven't been announced and some that have.
Excellent. Well, let's see. Uh, do you know anything that has been announced or um, that we might look forward to
Yeah.
having you speak about?
Yeah, I wrote some characters and some adventure hooks that'll be coming up in Absalom, City of Lost
Yes,
Omens.
yes, indeed. The long-awaited Absalom, City of Lost Omens, the in the Lost Omens setting line. That's great. That's some writing you must have done in the before times, way back when, and it's that book has taken a little time to come to fruition, and so it'll be great. That's coming out, I think, December now. Is we've locked that down, so something for all of us to look forward to just before the holidays. Let's circle back to Strength of Thousands and talk about what it is for people who have been living under a rock and don't actually know what we're talking about. Um, I say that in
It's okay,
jest,
sometimes
but
I'm that person.
right. So you know, certainly the Mwangi Expanse, the book that you talked about, develops one of the Pathfinder setting's 10 mega regions. The Mwangi Expanse is one of those 10. And of course, that is our African inspired fantasy area. I guess is how we'd say that if the continent above that is largely inspired by Europe, then this one is largely inspired by Africa. um, and you were a part of that. And so in order to focus on that and feature that, we have the Strength of Thousands Adventure Path. Hey Ron, why don't we jump in and add you and see if you can give the elevator pitch for what Strength of Thousands is as an adventure path for people who might not know what it's about.
Oh, very much so. It is a 6-part adventure path that takes characters from first level to 20th level. And it takes you through the range of the entirety of a story set in the Magambia, the oldest magic university in our world. You start out as incoming students, very, very fresh students coming in. Throughout the course of the adventure path, you become teachers at the school, and then ultimately the fate of the school sort of ends up in your hands to save and then to decide based on actions that you make. We have a number of adventure paths where things move kind of quickly, right? Each adventure takes place over maybe a month because they come out monthly. Strength of Thousands is not like that. It's expected that this is a campaign that's going to take your characters, if not your players, it's going to take your characters many, many years to complete. You're going to sort of gloss over time spent in class sessions. It's expected that a GM might tell their players an academic semester goes by, and then, right? So it's really intended to give you sort of the full school experience, both as a teacher and as a professor. Then, of course, as an explorer, because one of the things the Magambia stands for is patrol, and doing so means people who are students and teachers of the Magambia go out into the world in order to learn and to solve problems that they have. So you have diplomatic missions that you go on, exploratory missions that you go on, some that send you exploring some pretty out-of-the-way places. But the city itself is set in, or the school itself is set in the middle of a very vibrant cosmopolitan city. We can get our first image. That is the city of Nantambu. And this image here shows sort of a cut of the city. This is actually from the Mwangi Expanse book, this particular image, that gives some detail about the city as a whole. I don't know if this is part of the school, but there's a platform that's part of the school, the speaker stage, where students get to go sort of perform either impromptu performances or sort of get to be seen by the people of Nantambu. But that's a lot of fun. The school itself is very, very old. It was founded by, who's probably the most powerful wizard that has ever lived in our setting, Old Mage Jatembe. When he was around tens of thousands of years ago, or since the Age of Darkness, where people needed to be brought back the light of learning and knowledge, and Old Mage Jatembe and his 10 magic warriors did that. If we can see the next image, one of the things that is a tradition at the school that gives the adventure path its name is that there is this old monument that has stood in the school since it was founded, and everyone who graduates from the school carves their name on this monument. And the saying at the school is that everyone who is in the school is standing upon is supported by the strength of thousands that have come before, and that's the names that are marked on here. This is an event that the players get to participate in if they get to a point of graduation, is to add their name to this monument as well. The next image, if I could jump in, I just want to say the next image. I mentioned Old Mage Jatembe. He made, back when he was active in the world, he had an awful lot of enemies that he made. Here's him fighting an evil sorcerer known as the King of Biting Ants thousands of years ago. So his legacy is very strong, and his presence is still felt at the Magambia. Aaron, you were about to jump in?
Yeah, excellent. No, thank you so much. So yes, I wanted to point out that we do have a player's guide available as a free download for people who are interested in playing the Strength of Thousands adventure path. You can find that at Paizo.com if you go to the landing page for the adventure path. It's available there as a free PDF download, and that will get you started in creating characters to play this adventure path. Looking at the structure of Volume 1, Kindled Magic itself, we mentioned, Ali mentioned that there are 3 parts, and that she was very involved in parts 2 and 3. So it's the adventure itself has 3 chapters. The first is called Orientation, the second is called First of Many, and the third is Stonecast Shadows, I believe. Does that sound? Those were the parts that you were involved in. Yes, Ali?
Yes.
Now,
although that last one leans a little bit towards spoilery territory for one of the foes of the adventure. So,
great. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. There are other sections. There's back matter, including Life in the Academy by Mark Seifter, and Students of the Mogambia by Eleanor Farron, and then an adventure toolbox. So there are multiple aspects of this volume 1. There's not only the 3 chapters of the adventure, but there's this back matter that helps you flesh it out and gives you some rules and tools that you can use forevermore in all your adventures, whether or not you're playing this one or something of your own homebrew creation. I think we only have a little bit of time to talk about each one of these topics. So I'll check in with you, Ali. Any other pleasant memories or things that inspired you for those parts 2 and 3 that you very much enjoyed writing and want to make sure people are aware of?
I won't go into part 3 because it is definitely spoilers, and I did put a bit of a cliffhanger in just the name. Sorry. But in part 2, a lot of it is the montage that you would get in like teen high school dramas where everyone's going to classes, they're doing stuff outside of class, meeting new people. And I think my biggest point of advice for players and GMs especially is be okay with the character that you think you know changing throughout the adventure, just like you would in real life. But I think one of my fondest memories for writing was the section called Starday's Alright for Fighting in Chapter 2. I made a Leshy mix.
You did. There are
against.
Leshy Mecha, right?
Yeah.
That's hit the Twitterverse. That's hit the interwebs, and people are crazy about seeing little plant leshies wearing what appears to be large suits of wooden armor, which people are calling leshy mechs. So you'll definitely want to.
What I call them too.
You'll want to search Twitter for some of those images because they're definitely out there. People are getting, and you'll want to look for them in your own copy of Kindled Magic when you pick it up. I think we'll now transition to start the Starfinder adventure path, Planetfall, and back to Ron. Just to introduce to people, I'll introduce Horizons of the Vast. It is a 6-month Starfinder adventure path that is being issued a new volume every other month. So it's going to take a full year to complete. So we'll certainly be talking about Strength of Thousands in future episodes of Paizo Live, but also Horizons of the Vast. It's going to be one of those 2 adventures are going to be themes for us for the next 6 months to a year. And so here's Volume 1, Planetfall by Ron. And Ron, could you tell us a little bit about this first volume for people who might not have heard about it?
Absolutely. One of the things that is a really popular science fiction type of story is the exploration, right? You go to a new world and you're trying to build settlements there, and maybe your settlements are trying to become cities, and what is going on with this planet anyway, and what sort of mysteries are you uncovering. This is the type of story that we're going to tell. Some people have called it Kingmaker in space, and if you see that, it's because Kingmaker was very popular first edition Pathfinder adventure path about people building up their own kingdom. This is the same from the sci-fi perspective of we've come to this world which is has as the picture shows here, some pretty crazy monsters on it. It is curiously devoid of sentient life. Why might that be, and what sort of dangers does the planet hold? That's what the adventure path is about. The adventure that kicks it off, Planetfall, is getting the first sort of taste of what the world is like and what the monsters there are like, and what clues have been left behind by people who have been there before, but are now no longer. One of the things that I think has been really fun about writing this is seeding those sorts of clues kind of all the way through. It's neat to have players have the experience of, all right, well, we're going off into the wilderness, right? And here's this deep forest or this weird, sort of, mountain range. And then we get to the mountain range, and in the middle of the mountain range is an obviously artificial quarry, a pit that leads deep down. Okay, somebody made this. Somebody made it maybe long ago. Why? What were they looking for? Where did they go? What's happened? So the sort of the person against nature has become sort of a curious mystery on top of that. The advantage of writing a first volume in an adventure path like this is that I get the joy of setting up a bunch of mysteries, and then I kind of leave it to other people to work through and pay off. All I'm trying to do is get you hooked and wonder what the heck's going on.
That's great. Thank you for that introduction. The volume contains a campaign outline so that when you pick up volume 1, you understand the entire arc of the adventure path. You aren't flying blind, so that you can start volume 1 and you don't have to wait a full year to start Horizons of the Vast. It contains Planetfall, the adventure by Ron, without any subchapters that I'm aware of, any headings for me to read to you that might be spoilery. And then there's some back matter as well, charter development by Jason Keeley, and in which it sort of talks to you about the structure of the charter that gives you the right to be settling this new planet, and the adventure toolbox with lots of new monsters and equipment and things that will help you settle this new territory. And lastly, every Starfinder volume really contains a new location and a starship for you to either you use it in the adventure, or sometimes it has. Usually, you use the starship in the adventure. And either it's yours or an enemy ship, and then GMs can do with it what they will thereafter. Let's see. I wanted to. Now, and Ron, how much were you involved in that back matter? I suppose as the freelance author, you sort of share the adventure, and then the Starfinder team takes it away from there and sort of completes it outside of your observation, yes?
No, they actually, in this case, I got an early look at what the charter system was going to be because I needed to use it. I needed to put it in place. Here's another interesting similarity between Kindled Magic, the first in Strength of Thousands, and Planetfall, first of Horizons of the Vast. Kindled Magic has a whole academic subsystem that spans your character's entire career, but in the course of that adventure, you're sort of looking at just the first couple levels of it. Just you're initially on your way to what is going to be a big academic advancement. In Planetfall, the charter system is all about how to build an entire sort of realm of your own with lots of different cities and technological advancements. And all I do in Planetfall is kind of touch on the first parts of that. And it touches on it right away. When you first come to the planet, one of your first decisions is, all right, where are we going to build our first city, our main city? Where are we going to start? And even your decision about where to start is impacted by that charter system. Well, it's going to be easier to develop in one way if you've picked here. It's going to be easier to develop in a different way if you picked over here. So this was a place where the Starfinder team gave me sort of the initial first draft of the charter system, knowing that I need to incorporate it and then be able to build on it. So it kind of matters in the adventure, not only where you start, but sort of what decisions you make as you go along, and you find some of the mysteries in order to work your charter initially, and then that'll go throughout the entire 6-part campaign.
Excellent. That makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting to see what comes first in the building of these adventures. And it sometimes varies depending on the adventure. So that's an interesting insight. Thank you very much. I think that's our first look at Planetfall. And let's see, did we? Yeah. Just looking to making sure we didn't skip any images, but that's what we have for this episode. There'll be a lot more in the future. Let's go ahead and talk about. Let's go on and share those Paizo Live spoilers and where you can be found if people want to interact with you outside of the show. Ron, where is it that you can be found? Is Twitter the best place?
Twitter is second best way. I'm at RPG Ron Lundeen on Twitter, but I also blog on runamuckgames.com. I have a blog there that's a lot of advice about freelance RPG writing, and it is everything from various levels of specificity. I do a breakdown of what a contract you're going to be entering into is like. I'm talking about what makes a good villain motivation, and down to the very specifics of what the best way to draw an angled hallway on a map is. So a lot of different advice there.
Excellent. That's good to know about. And do you have a spoiler for us today for Paizo Live?
I could. Yeah. So, do I get... I've got my copy of Planetfall here. Do I get a lot of time for one of these spoilers? Because I'll go, adventure background. Long-range scans initiated by science... Oh, no, okay. All right.
No.
All right. The actual thing that I wanted to say, a lot of my past or my current life that's outside of gaming is something that bleeds into the work that I do, and that's a lot of fun. People who've seen some of my work know that a lot of it involves around contracts with the law, because I came to this career from being a transactional attorney for many, many years. One fun piece in Planetfall is I'm currently running for a small public office, and it turns out one of the key encounters in Planetfall is an election, and how the election works, and how your players can participate and position themselves to be victors in an election. And so that was a fun way to sort of pull my outside of the gaming experience into the writing that I did.
Excellent. So there's a bit of a democracy to look forward to.
Well, your whole point is it's not a democracy. You're in charge, and somebody's like, "We ought to have an election." You're like,
yeah.
Crap. Suddenly, we're involved in an election. Wait, when did this happen? And how do we win it?
That's a spoiler. So be ready to have your power usurped.
Yep.
Which you might expect to happen, but you might not expect it to happen through democracy. So I like that. That's a good twist. As opposed to someone just trying to take over through sheer force. That's great. Thank you. Ali, let's turn to you. What sort of Paizo Live spoiler might you share with us today? What have you been working on that we might see coming from you in the future? I think you might be muted.
I was, because I thought I was going to sneeze.
Smart. Please, go on.
Yeah. There's some things that I can't talk about quite yet, but for City of Lost Omens, I did write 2 characters. One, if you want to go into the trope of the very tired bisexual that once was a womanizer, everyone-izer, and now has been thrust into a political arena and is trying to figure out how to deal with it. That's definitely the best point to draw from. Think Chuck Bass from
a cad? Uh-huh.
A bit of a cad
Yeah.
that has realized they can no longer be a cad anymore, but everyone
Nice.
knows them as a cad.
So that's one of the
Uh,
NPCs to look forward to in Absalom, City of the Lost Omens?
yes, and the other one, think Galadriel from The Lord of the Rings, with Selesnya from Magic the Gathering, but through the lens and like maybe portrayed like John Travolta as Gabriel in Swordfish. There you
Okay.
go.
Cryptic and mysterious, and there's just a lot of jazz hands and bling in both of those characters.
Yeah, that's
Something sort of
that's what I'm good at.
something sort of medieval and fantasy fiction, but modern and recognizable as well. It's fascinating how you're drawing on influences that are both contemporary and fantasy fiction. So thank you very much for sharing that. Where can people find you on the internet? Where would you like to be
Most
found?
often, I'm on Twitter as Madpierrot. That's MADPIERROT. Uh, Eventually, when I have some free time, you'll be able to find me streaming on Twitch at Madpierrot TV. And very occasionally, I go on TikTok as La Madpierrot, same as before, but with LE in front of it. And I talk about like the process of making tabletop games and telling stories and creating characters.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm sure people will want to look for both you and Ron so that they can get some insights as to how all these games that they love are made. That's always a fascinating look to see how the insiders do it. Even if you're not involved in the industry professionally, you just want to see how things are done. Thank you both for being here today and sharing your stories and the ways in which you added to the greater universe of Pathfinder and Starfinder. We very much appreciate you inviting us into your homes. During the age of the pandemic, Paizo Live is definitely an intimate look at the people behind Pathfinder and Starfinder, and we appreciate you very much. So now we'll take a short break in order to bring on our next guests, some fresh guests, where we'll talk about even more Starfinder. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you again in a few minutes.
Centuries ago, the Stellar Flare, a science vessel researching the strange dimension known as the Drift, crashed on the surface of Akaton. Now, an android with a claim to the Stellar Flare wants to find the wreck and rescue its valuable research. The Stellar Flare's remains lie in the middle of an enormous junk field filled with malfunctioning technology, inhabited by predatory creatures and fought over by territorial space goblins. And there are whispers of an enormous robot made entirely of junk that wanders the scrapyards, eager to destroy everything in his path. Can your heroes broker a peace, reach the wreckage, and defend it against an army of scavengers? JUNKE'S Delight is a Starfinder adventure for first-level heroes and the perfect next step from the Starfinder Beginner Box. School's in session in Kindled Magic, the first volume of the Strength of Thousands adventure path. The newest students at the venerable Magambia School of Magic must begin their academic careers with tests of their skill and resourcefulness. The heroes can learn much from their teachers and fellow students, but must be aware of mysterious secrets and sinister plots. The rigors facing any Magambia students are steep, but the heroes must also contend with strange infestations and supernatural intruders in the school's ancient halls. Education is far from easy at the oldest and most prestigious magic academy in the world. For a quick adventure for first-level characters, discover Pathfinder Bounty Somewhere Below. While sheltering in a cave from a storm, the player characters discover a note from a stranded spelunker in need of immediate assistance. They must navigate the hazards and creatures of the treacherous caverns if they want to help their bounty make it out alive. 2 new adventures, including An Agent's Obligation and Breaking the Storm, Parting Clouds, await members of the Pathfinder Society. Learn more at pathfindersociety.club and join a game with friends from around the world or across the table. New adventures await members of the Starfinder Society in the Year of the Data Scourge. Mission Not Found and A Waltz Through Myriad Worlds are now available. Become a Starfinder Society agent at starfindersociety.club. Whether the heroes are exploring the world-spanning woodlands of a living planet or racing inner cycles between giant trees in a dangerous high-speed chase, Starfinder Flipmat Forest Moon has you covered. Key aliens and NPCs from the Fly for Your Die adventure path come alive on your tabletop with the Fly for Your Die Pawn Collection, featuring more than 100 creature pawns of an alien, NPC, or starship from the campaign, including EdgeCorp bounty hunters, the Golden League's assassins, rival starships and their crews, and dozens of unique creatures. This 27 by 39-inch double-sided combat map features 2 different islands for use at your table. Don't waste your time sketching when you could be playing with Pathfinder Flipmat Bigger Island. You'll be ready next time your players make landfall. The next time your players are ready to explore a towering castle or imposing fortress, they won't have to wait for you to draw every wall or door in the complex. Pathfinder Flip Tiles Fortress Starter Set provides beautifully illustrated 6-inch by 6-inch map tiles and can be used to construct a sprawling fortification full of places for defenders to make their last stand. Find your path to friendship and adventure with these new releases and more at Paizo.com and your favorite local game store.
Hello, and welcome back to Paizo Live. I'm Aaron Shanks, your host. I'm Paizo's marketing and media manager, and today we've got 4 different segments talking about all things Pathfinder and Starfinder. In segment 1, we talked to Ron Lundeen and Alex B about Kindled Magic and Planetfall, and now we're going to move on and talk about even more Starfinder material with some new guests. I'll go ahead and introduce them. First, we have John Compton. John, welcome to Paizo Live.
Hello. Good to be here.
Hello. Thanks for joining us. John, what is your title at Paizo?
I'm Starfinder Senior Developer, so I primarily work on our hardcover book line. So recently, Tech Revolution and Galactic Magic.
Excellent. Just let people know some of the hats you've worn at Paizo over the years for a little context, because I like to show you off, because you're pretty awesome. Go ahead.
Yeehaw. So about a decade ago, I was a volunteer for our Organized Play programs, became our Organized Play lead developer, and about 2 years ago, switched over to the Starfinder line as Starfinder Senior Developer. So I've worked extensively on a whole bunch of our digital adventures, know our product lines back and forth by and large, and have written for just about everything that we do.
Indeed. Thank you for letting everybody know the context and why you're here today. And I will also introduce our other 2 guests. Let's bring on Kay Tessa Newton.
Hello. How's it going?
Hello. And what is your title at Paizo, and what do you do?
I am an editor at Paizo. I am predominantly focusing on, as of now, narrative editing over on the Pathfinder line, but I'm very excited to talk about some of the stuff that I've done over on the Starfinder side of things today.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us.
That's
And our third guest, is Misha Buschegger. Thanks for joining us, Misha.
How's it going?
Good. And we consider you one of our freelance authors. Certainly, you were brought in to participate in some of today's products. What is it that you've been doing with us in the past, recently? Things that you might be able to talk about, projects that you're working on for the future that have been announced.
I did some work on Mawagi Expanse. I wrote the part about Natambu, which was really fun to do. And then I worked on the Kazakh Gazetteer for Joker's Delight for Starfinder. And I just turned in a fiction piece that's a companion to the Joker's Delight line product. So we'll see what that looks like after editing. But I thought it was pretty fun. I had fun with it.
That's great. Yeah, you've touched a lot of the really exciting aspects of what we have going on today. If you didn't, if you saw the last segment in part A, we talked about the Mwangi Expanse, and we talked about the Magambia, which is the university in which the Strength of Thousands adventure takes place in, and the name of, and so you developed the town that takes place in. That's the connection. Yes,
I did.
Yeah. So it's all very interconnected. Thank you for joining us. So we have John, we have Tessa, and we have Misha today. Thank you very much. The first product I want to talk about is Starfinder Junker's Delight. That is now available. It is out. It is available for purchase in both print and PDF copies. And this is unusual because it's a new product line. John, do you wanna talk a little bit about the Starfinder Adventures and how Junker's Delight fits into the scheme of things?
Absolutely. So there have been two primary ways that we've done Starfinder Adventures so far. We've had the Adventure Pass, like Planetfall, which we talked about earlier, which are introducing these 3 or 6 volume big adventure storylines. And then we've also had Starfinder Society Organized Play Scenarios, which are more of a 4-hour experience. But we have not had something to occupy kind of that middle range where you want something that's going to last you several sessions, but you're not quite ready to commit to a much vaster story. And so the modules, or the Starfinder Adventures line, is very much answering that with 64-page adventures that are likely to take you over several levels to complete, and are likely to take you several sessions to complete as well. So it's not just a single one-shot here, although we do have some of those as well that we're not featuring as much on this program. So Junker's Delight is the debut of this product line, showing off everything that it brings to bear. It does a couple of really important things mechanically. First off, it is a first-level adventure. It's going to take you several levels by the end of things, but it's a great way to get introduced with Starfinder and to have more than a single session of introduction. Second, it is written using entirely core rulebook material. So if you have that core rulebook, you can sit down with this module and have all the content you need to run it. It borrows a couple of things from other books, which are reprinted within, but by and large, if you have that core rulebook, you're going to find everything is nice and familiar, and yet wildly entertaining to play through at the same time. But all of our narratives really feed off of our setting. And in this case, although we've featured Akiton in things like our Pact Worlds setting book, we've not really done a deep dive into some of the settlements. So it's really exciting to be able to use a module like this to look at like what's going on in one of these awesome places on the map. And that's where my expertise starts to fade away, and perhaps Misha's yours really steps in.
So I was approached. They said, "Hey, we've got this town on the edge gorge that's full of junk and space debris, and we need a town that goes with it." And I'm just thinking, that kind of sounds like the Grand Canyon in Vegas, huh? And so that's kind of where I jumped off from. And so I kind of tried to give it that old Vegas feel of there's the glamour, but just underneath there's the dirt and the grime that just kind of permeates everything. So yeah, that's Junker's Delight. Excellent.
Glamour and grime. That works really well. that it describes that location. I understand that this location was developed such that it could be a launching point for future adventures. It starts here, but it's fairly detailed as a gazetteer, yes?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I mean, I think there's enough books and stuff that were written in that could be, what about this thing here? And you can kind of use it as a jumping off point for something else of your own. So try to leave lots of room for DMs to play with.
Some possible little adventure hooks kind of written in, things that might inspire some exploration and adventures using
lots of MacGuffins
this
to like go off and look for.
I guess we should talk about the planet that this is set on. I don't think we've necessarily talked about that. I I think John can talk about it extensively, but before he does, do any of you have what's your understanding of the planet that this takes place on?
I actually have
Nisha,
a little bit
what
on
did you
that.
know? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, just maybe we can talk about it a little bit more later. But I got very familiar with Akaton and very much fell in love with it while I was doing my writing assignment. Part of my writing assignment for Tech Revolution, which I wrote the day in the life segment takes place on Akaton. And it's definitely kind of a different feel, a different flavor than Junker's Delight, but I just I love a boom and bust town kind of energy. It puts a lot of things in our setting in just kind of stark relief. You know, we present a lot of really amazing sort of mechanical options and these enormous, incredible sort of sci-fi, science fiction and fantasy landscapes. And Akaton to me is kind of where one of the places that sausage gets made. When the drift became a viable source of travel, the Thastron engines that had made Akaton rich, Thastron became kind of valueless, and so all of this building and all of this infrastructure that had started there kind of all dried up, and now it's this and now it's kind of a more rough and tumble place. And that gives rise to a lot of, and you were talking about story hooks. I love story hooks in a place like that. You know, people trying to get by, people trying to figure out what to do on this planet that it kind of seems sometimes like the rest of the Pack Worlds has forgotten about or just kind of moved past. And I love sad things, so I like a little sadness in Starfinder.
Excellent. Thank you for that insight. That's a nice insight as to it's a bit of a Paizo Live spoiler because that's content that hasn't been revealed yet. It's a planet we all know and love, but that's a take on it that we have yet to see. So thank you for sharing that.
I'm just
John, do you
concerned
have any
still
more
about.
thoughts?
I'm just still concerned about Tessa's. Like, I like it when the PCs suffer.
Listen, if you know me, you know I love making player characters and non-player characters alike suffer. So that's very on
I'm
brand.
just saying, you can't have hurt comfort unless you have hurt first.
Exactly. Very well said.
I can tell this is going to introduce players to all the important themes of Starfinder then. Welcome to Starfinder. Yeah. Allow me to introduce you to a concept called loss. Oh no. Chapter 2 is entitled Dirt.
Junk, dirt, loss, struggle. And glory, maybe, at the end.
Absolutely.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, exactly. I think that's what we all come to role playing games for in general. So I think Starfinder is sort of in line with that. Great. So John, Akaton, yes, that's the planet. It's fourth in this. No, is it fourth in the system?
That sounds right.
In our packed worlds. Yeah, it's sort of a. I mean, for those who are new to the Starfinder world and the packed world, it's sort of Pulp Fiction Mars. That might be the way I think of it. I mean, it's Pulp Fiction in that it's dry and it's desert and it's red and inhabited. So it's not going. Yeah, it's that's the touchstone I would think of as the entry point for Akaton. I think it's
Tessa really covered a lot of the really key points about it. Mars like Bastron bust, and the idea that it used to be really prevalent or prominent, and now it is out of the picture. But the other important thing to know about it is that Akaton, both during the time period called the Gap in Starfinder, after which our setting really begins, but also even shortly afterward, is the site of so many crashed starships. So there are vast swaths of junk, both left over from the boomtowns, but also from all these crashes. And so when we're talking about something like the junk in Junker's Delight, A lot of that scrap is coming from previous development, and it's there for a reason. We didn't just say, let's make a pile of junk out in the middle of nowhere. Like, these things grow, organically or intuitively. But one of the things about the place where this takes place, it's called Kefak's Delight, right? And like Kefaks
Kefak's
are not
Depot.
something we explore quite as much or quite as prominently in Starfinder or in Akaton. So I think it's really important to understand, like, what are Kefaks? Like, what do they do?
Oh.
For correctly, critters that like they're a little surly, a little ill-tempered, a little mean, a little don't poke the bear, but they're out there and they kind of provide a decently low-level thing to fight against. That still brings a decent element of danger to it. But they also burrowed beneath the surface, and so that's one of the reasons that Kefak Depot is called Kefak Depot, is because it's kind of built over a warren of their tunnels. And so, yeah, it makes another little place, hey, if you want to have a little dungeon crawly kind of feel to a Starfinder game for a change, there's some tunnels. We gave them to you. It's fine. You'll have fun.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for that
I appreciate how I'm going to start reading this gazetteer, and it's going to be like, you can do this work for this guy, or you can do this work for this lady. Or, if the players are too comfortable, just have their floor collapse and they have fallen into the tunnels below.
Excellent.
I tried to provide bonus.
Lots of options and directions to go, literal directions, not just metaphorical. Great. I think that paints a good picture of JUNKE'S Delight. As I said, it's available today in PDF and print. Let's now move on from things that are available to things that will be available soon. We have another street date, another release date this Wednesday, August 25th. We are on target for, as you know, we're in the midst of international shipping chaos, and so it's been a little challenging to know exactly what will come in and when it will come in. And the good news is that all of our hardcovers that we intended to release at the end of August, Secrets of Magic and Starfinder Tech Revolution, have been received and are going, and we're going full speed ahead with our August 25th release. There might be one dare I say, minor product that we're not really quite sure whether or not it's coming to the warehouse yet, but customer service will keep everyone informed next week as to what that might be and how it might work. So let's go ahead and talk about Tech Revolution, because it's really exciting. There's our beautiful cover. It is the next hardcover in the Starfinder rulebook line. And cover. I'd like to just, John, do you want to start off by giving an introduction as to what that hardcover is, since that's your area of expertise?
Sure thing. So Tech Revolution is a book that explores all of the science side of science fantasy. So when it comes to more equipment, when it comes to technological solutions to mundane or even supernatural problems, when it comes to providing heavy metal solutions to your problems, like new vehicles and ways of approaching vehicles, or mechs, like you see on that cover there, where three of our iconic characters are fighting it. And when it comes to understanding what the nature of technology even is in the galaxy, Tech Revolution is the guide for all of these things, presenting not only a whole bunch of in-world content and lore, but also a great number of player character options that you can use to make a technologically sophisticated and kitted out character to tackle whatever the galaxy has to throw at you.
Great. I understand that I've got a little chapter breakdown here, and one of the first things in Chapter 1 is all about classes. Are you able to share what might be in that Chapter 1?
Yeah, so a quick little overview of that section is, first off, we have an entirely new class in this book. We playtested it last year. It's releasing imminently now. It's called the Nanocyte. This is a character who houses a host of nanites within their body that follow their instructions for whatever reason you happen to delight in. We have an iconic character that we recently introduced named Verkia who happened to adopt hers. But basically, they can flow out of your body to confound your enemies, to turn into equipment, to build things for you, or even to just reinforce your body. Nanite use has such a wide array of applications in science fantasy and science fiction that there are ways that it becomes a do anything class, but really it's a little bit more focused than that because we have everybody else that we don't want to overshadow. But in addition, we have, speaking of not wanting to overshadow anybody, we have new technological options for every class that we have published to date. So you'll find 2 pages for each one of them, including a bonus 2 pages for mechanics because they have drones, and so we have a whole bunch of drone options as well. But just to rattle off a couple of possibilities, we have the Witch Warper, who has this ability called Infinite Tech, where instead of infinite worlds, they can summon technology from any reality. So you can sort of pull a weapon or armor or other gear out of who knows where and have it on the fly. We have Vanguard aspects like obsolescence and regression, where your idea of what loss is, since loss is apparently a theme that we're going with in Starfinder, where you can cause people's technology to break down in their very hands. And just, oh gosh, there's the Technology Whisperer Envoy, where now you can speak to computers and politely ask them to do what you command. New ways of looking at cyber medicine for our biohackers, and really alternate class features for, I believe, every single one of our classes. That sounds right. As well as 3 new drone chassis to play around with as well. So doubling the number of options you have there. Just really exciting to have all of that content out in the wild.
Absolutely. I'll say that Chapter 2 delves into a lot of gear. Tessa, did you were essentially the lead editor on this Starfinder hardcover, and contributed. Obviously, you wrote some about in the last chapter. I'll skip ahead. The chapters are classes, gear, vehicles, mechs, and a galaxy of tech. And we have images of some of the vehicles and some of the mechs that we can just sort of let roll while we talk about all of them, because there's just so much here to talk about. So you were involved in the last chapter, A Galaxy of Tech, but what was it like to be the editor for this book and dive into this Starfinder universe?
It was really fascinating because I think a lot of people get drawn to Starfinder by the fact that it blends tech and magic, and so just focusing on one of those, I think, can be a trickier proposition. But John and the rest of it did such an amazing job with all of those. You were listing off the classes earlier. I think my personal favorite one in there is the new Mystic connection, which I believe is to technology, which is awesome. Because computers have souls too. I am really fascinated with all of the various things. For me, editing wise, we trust the devs on all of the numbers, and actually, this is one of the big mech spreads for a couple of the new mechs introduced, which are so cool. They're so beautiful, and they really, from a setting perspective, the thing that I really like about them is that they all feel really reflective of the cultures and sort of backgrounds of the societies. They are, of course, of a piece with a lot of the other things. The Idari tech feels, of course, very different from Hell Knight stuff and things like that. But it all feels of a piece, and it all fits together. Oh man, I love that left page. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by all the pretty art.
Right? Yeah, that happens to us. It's amazing. You can just, if you know the Pact World setting, you can see that these mech fit into the world. Visually, and you can look to see culturally where they fit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, on the mechs fitting, even just from a game perspective, I kind of had a question for John, just because most of this stuff happens before it ever crosses the editor's desks. But on the mech stuff, you guys made a new subsystem for mech combat and things like that, specifically for this book, and that was also play tested, I believe, last year, right?
Yes.
And one of my questions that I wanted to ask you here on Paizo Live was, what changes, what tweaks did you guys what things did you learn from the playtest that has impacted the way that mechs feel or are presented as opposed to that sort of initial taste that players got during that time?
Yeah, so there are a couple of changes that we made. So one of them was just a matter of how you build your mech, and this was a bit of complexity tweaking. Like we had broken down the math into formulas that we were asking you to do when we realized that this was really a presentation issue. That we really just need to make some tables. You could say, I have a mech of level 6. It does these numbers. Just read across the line. Don't worry about calculating anything. You just got these things. And then, but part of the mech building process is that complexity is kind of important, because a big trope in mech building is that you want to be able to swap out your legs and your arms and your gun or your chainsaw or whatever the heck it is you've built. And so we still do have those components, and they still do add like a +1 here or a 10% there. But we've streamlined a lot of that building process. Another is that when we presented the playtest mechs, we didn't really have any examples to provide. And that is very much different in Tech Revolution, where we have a glimpse not only at a whole bunch of the artwork of the different mechs like we were showing in the stream just earlier, but also we have a bunch of sample mech stat blocks as well from a variety of cultures and institutions. So you can have your Veskarian mechs, you can have your Idarian mechs, Eoxian mechs, things like that. And we have, I believe it's 2 different sample mechs per family that we present, along with additional art. That way you can see what it is, not only how those cultures represent their mechs, but if you just need a mech ready to go, even one that you can throw your PCs into, we have a whole bunch of them built and ready to run. So those were some of the really big changes. But by and large, the mech system stayed pretty consistent. You'll find some tweaks, but our core idea worked out pretty well.
Nice. Well, from everybody who doesn't like doing math, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for making those tweaks, because that's no fun for me. I work with words better.
Indeed, there are a lot of a wide variety of players in both Pathfinder and Starfinder, and fortunately, I think there's always someone in your party who likes to focus on the words, and the role play and the charisma skills, and then there are other folks who are, the math just comes much faster for them, and it's the team effort that really makes the party click. So. And I think we see that in the design of Starfinder, that there are options for all this variety of play. So thank you. I think that's all the time we have for Junker's Delight and Tech Revolution. So let's go ahead and reveal some spoilers. I'm actually going to go to Misha next. Misha, where would you like to be found on the internet?
Easiest place to find me is on Twitter. I'm BG Gameworks, or my website, which is blackgirlgameworks.com. I have a TikTok. It's also BG Gameworks. There's not a lot of there. There's a few weird things there. And technically, I have a Facebook page, but don't try looking for me on Facebook. It's hard.
Sure. Great. And you had mentioned that there was some fiction involving Junker's Delight that we can look forward to coming from you soon. But I think which is a bit of a spoiler in and of itself. I'm really happy. I'm really looking forward to that. Excuse me, but I think you have a more formal spoiler that you can share with us as well.
I do. So the Liberation of Locus 1 is coming soon, and I'm told that there's unique gear available on Locus 1 that you can't get anywhere else in the Starfinder setting, including some weapons that can heal as well as harm.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that Paizo Live spoiler with us. Tessa, let's go to you. Where do you think people can find you on the internet, on Twitter or on the Paizo forums?
Yeah, the absolute best place to find me is going to be over on the Bird website, twitter.com, where I am at KT_Tessa. Mostly you're going to see me talking about anime over there. I'm not going to lie to you. I talk a lot about anime. But yeah, you can get me there. In terms of Paizo Live spoiler, I'm actually going to take us away from Starfinder for mine, which and towards the Quest for the Frozen Flame AP over on the Pathfinder side, which I'm also edit lead on. We have been working really hard on those volumes, and they're looking really, really cool. I hope you all are very, very excited to play as nomadic peoples of the North, reclaiming your space from very warlike followings of various mammoths, and I hope you like megafauna. If you don't know what that is, look it up.
Excellent.
That's all I got.
Excellent. It's nice to see some highlights and foreshadowing of what is scheduled to appear in January of 2022. That's the new three-volume Pathfinder adventure path we all have to look forward to. And lastly, John, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Archeotag, ARCHAEOTAGH. I also hang out on various Paizo-facing Discord servers, so the Starfinder RPG and Pathfinder RPG servers as well. Yeah, and more than active there.
Indeed.
As for a spoiler,
yes.
Let's see. So, I mean, you're going to see a whole bunch of Tech Revolution stuff soon enough, so I think it's really important to understand some of the stuff that's coming in Galactic Magic as well. And one of the ones to share today is that we have a whole bunch of variant spellcasting options that are going to be showing up in there. Specifically, if you want to take yourself from spontaneous spellcasting that you have for all of our current spellcasting classes in Starfinder, we now have prepared options where you are learning your spells and prepping them day by day, so similar to what a Pathfinder wizard does. But also, if you are a spellcaster, sometimes you just really want to be casting your spells. You're not as interested in firing your laser pistol. And so we wanted to make sure that our cantrips could continue to scale, or zero-level spells, that is, could continue to scale in a way that they stayed relevant throughout your career. So we also have a variant in Galactic Magic that will scale the damage of your damaging as your level spells to always feel relevant and cool.
Excellent. Something to look forward to in Galactic Magic, coming, I believe, in fourth quarter of 2021. And so make sure you are subscribing to the Starfinder rulebook line so that you won't miss a hardcover at all. Thanks for those spoilers, all three of you. We appreciate you being here and having us in your homes and sharing your thoughts with us and your contributions to the Starfinder role-playing game and the Pathfinder role-playing game. Thank you very much. And we're going to take another break. And when we come back, we'll have a new guest and talk about some Paizo organized play. We'll see you soon.
This is the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Beginner Box, and we want to show you what's inside. On the front is an amazing illustration by artist Wayne Reynolds, and on the back is everything showcasing what's in the box and what to expect. To start, we have an instructional guide that guides you through the contents of the Beginner Box. This explains what Pathfinder is, gives you directions on how to play the solo adventure, and how to play with your friends. Then we have 4 pre-generated characters. One of Valorous the Fighter, Ezran the Wizard, Kyra the Cleric, and Mauricio the Rogue. Each of these pre-generated character sheets aims to help new players get into the game faster. You'll find helpful information on the side regarding the game, all the stats filled out for you, rules to help you play your chosen character, along with some backstory of the Pathfinder iconic you chose. You'll also notice that the character sheets have color-coded dice on the side. And in the box, you'll get 1 set of these, matching the colors to help affiliate newcomers to the different types of dice needed to play the game. To further help players are these reference cards. These have information explaining what actions you can take during your turn, what critical hits mean or critical misses, and more information to help you stay in the game and not in the books. And here is the Hero's Handbook. This handbook starts with a solo adventure, continues on with a synopsis of the game rules, and guidelines to create your own hero. The available ancestries you have available to you are the dwarf, elf, and human. You can then customize to become a cleric, fighter, rogue, or wizard. One of the important things to take away from the materials in this box is that the rules presented are the same as the Pathfinder 2nd Edition core rulebook. We did not modify the rules, only elaborated on them in the beginner box. If you and your friends decided to make their own characters instead, inside are 6 blank character sheets. Similar to the pre-gen character sheets, these also have helpful information about the game on the side and plenty of space to create your own hero. Now, as for the player telling the story, we have the Game Master Guide. This has everything you need to run a Pathfinder 2nd Edition adventure. It has a full adventure you can run right away, teaching the Game Master and players the rules of the game every step of the way, along with materials to run your own campaigns with a horde of monsters to battle against. To help run the included adventure, you'll find a double-sided flip mat inside the box. This is a 24 by 30 inch playmat, coated in a substance that allows you to mark and draw various things with a dry erase marker should you need them. To help populate your table, the box contains 3 pawn sheets representing the monsters in the Game Mastery Guide, player tokens, NPCs, and action tokens, which can be used with the player reference cards to help keep track of how many actions you have left during your turn. Along with the pawn sheets, you also get these bases for you to use to help them stand up at your table. And finally is a presentation of the Pathfinder Society, where either you're playing at home, online, conventions, or your favorite local hobby store, you can join thousands of Pathfinders today and start playing at paizo.com/organized play. On the back is an advisory for those wishing to continue the adventure, mentioning the Troubles in Otari adventure that continues the story of the beginner box, along with options to continue building and expanding your stories. And that's everything in the Pathfinder 2nd Edition beginner box. You can start your adventure now by ordering yours at paizo.com or by visiting your friendly local game store to begin your journeys. Stay safe and farewell, and we hope to hear about your adventures soon.
Gather your crew and prepare to embark on the journey of a lifetime as you explore the packed worlds of the Starfinder universe, taking on the role of a science fantasy hero customized to fit your playstyle. But danger lurks amongst the stars. Will you fight back with advanced weaponry and cunning tactics, or will your hero wield the devastating forces that fuse magic and technology together to alter reality? Your crew must come together if you have any hope of victory. In Starfinder, every decision drives the adventure as you build an epic saga with your friends. Bring your story to life in a game where the fate of the worlds rests on the answer to the most important question of all. What do you do? Begin your journey into the Starfinder universe today with the Starfinder Beginner Box, now available at Paizo.com, your local gaming store, and anywhere else adventure can be found.
Hello and welcome back to Paizo Live. I'm Aaron Shanks, your host. I'm Paizo's marketing and media manager. Today we have a 2-hour show. This is episode number 5 of Paizo Live, and each one of them takes, we spend about 2 hours talking about all things Pathfinder and Starfinder and all the latest products available to you. We've divided today's show into 4 different segments. Earlier today we talked about Kindled Magic and Planetfall, the first 2 volumes in our Pathfinder and Starfinder adventure paths, respectively. And then we went on and talked in segment 2 about Starfinder Junker's Delight, our first standalone Starfinder adventure. and all of which are currently available for you to purchase at your favorite local game store or on Paizo.com in print or PDF. And then we moved on to Starfinder Tech Revolution, the hardcover that comes out August 25th, full of all sorts of sci-fi goodness and very science and tech related items and classes and rules sets. And now we'd like to take a moment and talk about organized play, which covers both Pathfinder and Starfinder. We have a Pathfinder Society and a Starfinder Society, and to join us is our manager, Linda Zayas Palmer. Welcome, Linda.
Hi, how's it going, Aaron?
Good. Thanks for joining us. Let's talk about the structure of organized play and who you are and what you do and what your title is. That give people a context and a perspective.
Great. So I am the development manager for Digital Adventures. The biggest part of Digital Adventures is, of course, organized play with our Pathfinder and Starfinder Society scenarios, which are approximately 4-hour adventures that are part of our organized play programs. We also produce bounties for Pathfinder, which are short 1-hour adventures. And we just recently announced in a blog that in 2022, we're going to start doing those for Starfinder as well. And we are also going to, as of the beginning of 2022, going to be taking in those one-shot adventures, which are those adventures that they've got pre-generated characters, and they're really all-in-one adventure packs that take you to all sorts of places. And that's really exciting to see that we have the potential to tell all sorts of stories that don't assume you're a member of a society.
Indeed. As the marketing and media manager, I confess I'm pretty excited about those one-shots. It's a great way for me to liaison with the Pathfinder and Starfinder community creator. The community, the people who stream on Twitch or on YouTube or even just do podcasts. It's those stories are one-shots. Unless you're incredibly detailed, lengthy role players, and then you can stretch it for a long time. They include pre-gens so that you can just jump right in and have really innovative, unusual, creative characters that are sometimes really tied to the plot, and other times could be swapped out for something of your own creation. It just depends on the one shot. And those are really great for people who just want to showcase Pathfinder or Starfinder for other people as a form of entertainment, but also I think it's just really great for anybody who plays on virtual tabletop, who their friends are connected in lots of different cities, and that's the way they play. They're not able to sit around the table together. These are made out of the box to really be VTT friendly and digitally friendly. So I think the pandemic has taught us that there's a real hunger for those style of adventures. And so this is sort of the tip of the arrow in terms of creating products that work well in that mode. Anyway, so that's my elevator pitch
it's
for,
really
for the
great
one
to be
shots.
able to offer a variety of products. And Eric Mona had a blog a few weeks back talking about how we're going to be slightly stepping down a little bit what we're producing in terms of society adventures to make sure that we can still put all these things out with the new Starfinder bounties and these one-shots. But we're still very much keeping in mind that we need to make sure that we've always got enough awesome society adventures to keep the program strong and robust, and that we're going to be doing sanctioning right away for all of these other digital adventures that we've got so that folks can get credit for their society characters. And one of the types of credit that you can get if you are playing a Pathfinder or Starfinder society adventure, or one of those sanctioned adventures that we've got to earn credit for your characters, is a special currency that's called achievement points. And that's what I wanted to talk about a bit here today. So achievement points sort of got their start as the organized play team was looking at what we did for for convention boons. You could go to a convention and you could get a piece of paper that said, hey, you've been to this convention. Now you can play a character who's a kobold, or now you can play a character who is a Rhyphorian, right? But we were looking at that and we were saying, hey, there's ways that we could do this that would open up this space to everybody, whether they're a GM or a player, whether they're playing at home with friends or with groups at a game store, at a convention, all those sorts of things. So we introduced this new currency called Achievement Points, which came first in for Pathfinder Society in 2nd edition, and we've recently added to Starfinder Society as well. So the way that Achievement Points work is that you don't have to do anything special to earn them. If you play or GM a session of Pathfinder Society or Starfinder Society or any of this other sanctioned stuff, and it gets reported on Paizo.com, then you're going to earn achievement points that are tied to your Paizo.com account. And then what you can do is, if you go into your Paizo.com account, your little organized play section, there's a boon tab. And from there, you can see a giant list of all sorts of boons that you can buy for your characters. So there's a bunch of options for ancestries and species, because those are all super popular. There's options for being more tied into the various factions that each of the societies have, which are kind of based on the way that people like to approach adventuring. There's options for getting access to some more character options that you wouldn't have been able to get to otherwise. There's options for, if your character just had a disaster befall them on a mission, and you gotta scoop them back out of that so that they're ready to get into fighting form again. There's all sorts of options in there for folks to pick up.
Excellent. I think for someone who's new to organized play, society play, understanding how it works, what the structure is, what the rewards are, this is a really nice primer as to how that works. It was started in Pathfinder Society, and when something good happens, the best aspects of both Pathfinder and Starfinder societies sort of become integrated into the other. A lot of times, if it makes sense, and it sounds like that's what happened with this. You found that they worked in Pathfinder Society and then moved them over into Starfinder Society.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's take another step back and talk about seasons and the big picture and where we are, in case someone isn't if someone knows Pathfinder Society but not Starfinder Society, or vice versa. Where are we at in those seasons, and what are they, and where are we at?
Yeah, so I'll start with Starfinder Society. Starfinder Society is now partway through the year of the Data Scourge, which started at PaizoCon, and this is an event that kicked off with a big attack on the Starfinder Society headquarters. It's the Lore Spire complex. This big cyber attack, but cyber attack doesn't just necessarily mean that you're having problems with your computers, right? You have all these robots attacking and all sorts of things just going completely haywire. Communications are down. It's chaos. And so throughout the season, the PCs are trying to figure out what caused these attacks and how they can counter them, stop them, and figure out who's responsible and all that sort of thing. And they've been continually picking up little clues and scoring some victories here. So you'll get to be a part of that evolving story if you play this season.
Excellent. And it's, even though the season has already started, it's never really too late to just jump right in, right?
Yes, certainly. And I recommend that you try a new thing that we've got going on with these seasons, starting this year, is putting in an intro scenario for each season. That's basically you want to know what this season's about? Play me. So The Starfinder Society scenario intro, Year of the Data Scourge, is, well, it's an intro to the Year of the Data Scourge for level 1 to
Perfect.
4 characters. So I highly recommend, if you want to know what the Data Scourge is about, to check that guy out.
Excellent. Now tell us about Pathfinder Society. Where do we stand on that year/season?
So Pathfinder Society is at the cusp of its new year here, the Year of Shattered Sanctuaries. The Year of Shattered Sanctuaries is, well, our last season we kind of went far afield. We're going to explore an area where people haven't really explored much. Now we're kind of going more back to the home front, right? There's a series of misfortunate events that are happening at a lot of our central Pathfinder lodges, and we got to try to address those various situations and sort of figure out who is behind this and what's going on. So you're going to have a lot of short little adventure arcs that take place in different places that might be familiar to folks who've been with the society for a while, but you don't need to know. You don't need to have like all that background lore, right? It's like, oh yeah, you've got some adventures taking place. What's going on over in Chiliax? What's going on over in Andoran? What's going on with those lodges, and what kinds of various misfortunes are they having? So this is really about but I guess in a way, both of our seasons this year are something is targeting the society directly.
Right, I was going to say that.
Them, make stuff, and track them down, right?
Yes, there's a little bit of overlap there, which makes for a fairly good segue in that I think there are some interactive specials coming up in which there's a little bit of crossover. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, certainly. So we've got the interactive specials, Pathfinder Society Special $3.99, Fate in the Future, and Starfinder Society Special $3.99, Payrolls in the Past, which are a linked series of interactive specials. You can play the Pathfinder one first, followed by the Starfinder one, or you can just play one if you want, but we recommend you play that order if you can. These stories explore these stories wind up taking you far afield to Akiton, actually, which we were just talking about earlier on this show, to explore a ruin where a lot of strange stuff is going on, and to get to the bottom of that. And one of the things that I really like about these specials is that there can be a little bit of a momentum behind interactives to be like, now, okay, so you saved the city and now you have to like save the world and now you have to like save the planes, and it just like grows and grows and grows. But one thing I really like about this story is that it's a story that has sort of an epic scale in terms of the interesting and weird stuff that is going on. But at its heart, once you get down to it, it really is more of a personal story. So if you play it, you'll get to see what that means. There are specific mechanics that why I say you should play the Pathfinder one first is there's specific mechanics that if your event has done the Pathfinder one first, they're going to get extra benefits in the Starfinder one.
Excellent. Thank you for those insights. That's great. Boy, there's a lot going on in Pathfinder and Starfinder societies. It's always really exciting to get an update from staff members in the organized play team who really live it and breathe it and can bring us up to speed every month. It's great. So the nuts and bolts about these society scenarios that are being released, they're released digital only. They're PDFs. And while I mentioned a little earlier that we had some international shipping chaos, that's my phrase for it, that is affecting some of our print products, they're not touching the digital only products. So those
that
regularly release, right? You can continue to operate like
clockwork. They last Wednesday, those released on the last Wednesday of every month.
Indeed. So and that is true throughout the calendar year. So the last Wednesday of every month, there are new Pathfinder and Society Pathfinder and Starfinder Society scenarios available, as well as our digital bounties, which are first level Pathfinder bounties at the moment, but will become third level Pathfinder bounties in 2022 and first level Starfinder bounties in 2022. That's my understanding. Did I get that correct?
Yes, that your understanding is correct, Aaron, because we're looking,
Excellent.
now that we've got that basis of some first level bounties, we want to, in Pathfinder Society, we want to explore what it's like if we go a little higher level, a level where we still got pre-generated characters available if folks want to play with those, from our organized play pre-gens if people want to use those. But one of the things about digital adventures is that with our digital only format and the shorter production schedules that allows for, our department has the privilege of being very flexible and getting to try out a lot of new things, both in terms of how we do products in this broader scale, but also what we do in an individual scenario. We can experiment with so many different types of mechanics and themes and things like that to learn more about what people like.
It's really exciting to see the innovation that's coming out of the team. Thank you very much. I think those were the main bullet points that we wanted to talk about today. Thank you very much for telling us about the seasons and about achievement points and some of the new innovative products that are coming our way now and into 2022. Where can people find you? How would you like to be found if they need to reach out to you?
So I am on a Twitch stream every Tuesday evening at 7 Pacific and every Saturday morning at 10 Pacific at twitch.tv/arcanemark. And I can also be found on the Discord channel for that stream, which you can join at tiny.cc/arcanemark.
Excellent. Thank you, Linda. And do you have a Paizo Live spoiler for us tonight?
That I do. So so there was another blog that talked about how we changed some of the achievement point boons based on successes and stories. We've got some ancestries that are going to be a lot more available to folks now. But that's not the only thing that we're looking at doing. We also are going to have a new boon that's coming out real soon that'll give folks a way to get access to some of those uncommon items from the Advanced Player's Guide.
Oh, nice. So a new boons, yes?
Yes, we have new boons being added to the achievement store here in these next few weeks.
Excellent. Well, we'll go more into boons in the future too, just so everybody makes sure they understand achievement points and boons and how all of that works.
Yes.
Excellent.
A boon is basically a sheet that lets you do something else special with your character that you wouldn't normally be able to do.
Rewards! Yay! Okay.
Yay!
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for bringing us up to speed. We appreciate you letting us into your home on this Friday evening and sharing your wealth of information with us. And so thank you. And I'm sure we'll have you on again soon. Thank you, Linda. And now let's go ahead. Of course. And now let's take another break, and then we'll go into our last segment of the evening, in which we're going to dive into Pathfinder, Secrets of Magic, with Logan Bonner for the entire time. Take a break, get some water, come back. You won't want to miss it.
On the southern coast of Starstone Isle, not far from the town of Otari, the Gauntlet stands shrouded by cloying mists atop a centuries-old ruin in the Fogfin Swamp. Now, a pallid new light glows from within the ancient edifice, beckoning novice explorers to delve deep into the marsh to discover the truth behind the awakened radiance. The town elders of Otari say that the old lighthouse has been abandoned for ages, that the swamp itself holds little danger to the town. The town elders are wrong. Into the Mega Dungeon, the all-new Abomination Vault's adventure path for the Pathfinder role-playing game peels back layer after layer of mystery, intrigue,
and terror in a 3-volume campaign of dungeon exploration and thrilling discovery, designed especially with new players in mind. The priceless plunder of long centuries awaits those bold enough to enter the sprawling abomination vaults, but claiming it requires facing off against a horde of hideous monsters, deadly traps, and vengeful ghosts with long memories and inhuman hungers. The Abomination Vault's adventure path works with the Pathfinder Beginner Box or Pathfinder Core Rulebook and is your perfect gateway to thrilling adventure 500 years in the making.
So, you used to work for Edge Corp, huh? Taking it to the edge and all that. You were just a long hauler, shipping cargo from one planet to another for low pay, worse benefits, and the promise of a bonus that never showed up. Now, you're your own boss, looking for cargo you can buy for cheap and sell for bank. Jobs are everywhere. Absalom Station, sure, but the Veskarium too. Near space, even the Vast. Get used to the drift, cause you're gonna be flying long hauls. And some of the things that live in that place, they don't like visitors. I heard Edge Corp is still after you. Something about a stolen ship? And the Golden League is after you too? You got a long list of enemies, hotshot. You better start making some friends. Cause if there's one thing I've learned in a lifetime of carrying freight, it's that every bill comes due. If you really want to be free to go where you want, do as you please, you're gonna have to settle up with these people. And revenge ain't cheap. Don't say I didn't warn ya.
Hello, and welcome back to our final segment in our 5th episode of Paizo Live. Today is Friday the 13th, and we've had 4 different segments in our 2-hour Paizo Live episode today. We've talked about Kindled Magic. That's the first volume in the new Pathfinder Adventure Path. The Starfinder Adventure Path number 40, Planetfall. That's the first volume in that new AP. We've talked about Starfinder JUNKER'S Delight, a standalone Starfinder adventure that is great for new players. And all of those are available as we speak on at your favorite local game store and at Paizo.com in print and PDF. Then we moved on and we talked about the new hardcover Starfinder Tech Revolution. It's coming August 25th. Wednesday, August 25th. The big highlights of that are that it introduces the new nanocyte class and mechs to the Starfinder universe. So you'll definitely want to catch up on that if you missed it. Go to Paizo.com to learn more. We've got fiction and product pages and all sorts of things to get you up to speed on that. We talked about organized play and achievement points for Pathfinder and Starfinder societies and upcoming new scenarios, bounties, one-shots, interactive specials, all the things going on with a plethora of options with Paizo Organized Play. And now it's time for our final segment of the evening. We're going to talk about the new upcoming Pathfinder hardcover, Secrets of Magic, also coming out this Wednesday, August 25th. Despite international shipping chaos, we are ready to go with that hardcover. It's being released in hardcover, in special edition, and in soft cover pocket edition, so that you can choose the format that you like the best, as well as PDF. And here to talk about it tonight is Logan Bonner. Logan, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Aaron. Hi, audience.
Hello, Logan. Tell everyone what your title is and what you do at Paizo, please.
All right. I'm the Pathfinder lead designer, which means I spend a lot of time in the design phase of the hardcover rulebooks, kind of determining what's going to be in those, doing development passes on the text. And I also, as a lead designer, when we have kind of a what direction are we taking the game in general question, kind of those top level things, I'm involved in kind of making those decisions.
Excellent. So you must know Secrets of Magic pretty well. We're looking forward to hearing about it.
I was the lead designer on this book also.
Yes. So you absolutely strategically aligned with the future of the role-playing game itself, as well as this innovative hardcover. Why don't you tell us about it? I have an understanding of, well, I'll give everyone a quick rundown of all the different chapter titles, and then you and I can kind of go through them in more detail. So we have an introduction, and then we have chapter 1 called Essentials of Magic. Chapter 2 are all about classes. Chapter 3 is spells. Chapter 4 are magic items, and then chapter 5 is the Book of Unlimited Magic. So that's the big picture overview. What can you tell us, and in by way of introduction, in terms of what this book is about in the big picture?
So the big picture of this book is that magic's a major part of the Pathfinder world, of course, and it's a major part of people's games. So this is kind of a grand tour of what magic is all about, how people use it, and then just a whole ton of new magical options. And that's everything from an individual spell or magic item to ways to completely reshape your character and how they use magic. So it's really kind of a toy box of a whole bunch of different fun magical things that you can put into your game. And in that same spirit, there are spells that you can use in pretty much any game, 2 new classes that you can pick up and play, and then there are also some of these things that are more like systems that will need GM permission to introduce into a game, or characters who are doing things so differently that it's kind of more of a special thing on a game-by-game basis.
Excellent. Something for everyone, and then something optional. My understanding is, in the big picture, we've sort of published the hardcore rulebooks that frame the core of the game. Well, we have the core rulebook and the Game Mastery Guide, the Advanced Player's Guide, and 3 bestiaries. Those encompass the 6 major books that are the core of the game. And now we're starting to maybe color outside of the lines a little bit. Do I have that? Is that the right understanding?
Yeah, that's right. This book in particular, I think, is one that is going to be applicable to a very large number of games. Something like Guns and Gears is a little more narrow. Not every group is going to want guns in their campaign. But Magic is a little more broad and is more likely to kind of be useful. But we do want to kind of present these where it's going to have some stuff that's more specific so that we don't have to make it too generic and kind of useful for everything. It lets us kind of be a little more experimental with it.
Great. So chapter 1 is the Essentials of Magic. And as I understand, that's a little more narrative, a little bit more lore, a little bit more flavor. Can you give us a description of what people will find there?
Yeah, so I have this section was kind of something that came about when I was looking at what might be in this book. And looking at so much of our existing things, we have so many magical things you do, but we talk very little about the actual nature of magic. where it comes from, what it involved, how people practice it. And this was really a chance to kind of say, here's something that you can read that's going to give you more insight into the particulars of magic or into the characters who use magic. So the shot you see there is from the section on magical essences, and it is formatted in the book as a treatise called On Essences by a character in the world who's talking about what the essences are all about. So this is really great scene setting stuff that you might use to kind of develop your character's education or their philosophy on how magic works, and give you a better sense of what it's like to be in this world and be a magic user.
That's great. So it's really to help with your role play and be immersive in the game. Also, it's just gorgeous. I've been flipping through the book, and it's just the illustrations are great. Do you happen to be able to showcase any of those?
I did manage to grab an early hard copy of the book, so I do have that here with me. And
I thought
this
maybe.
This is one of the illustrations. This is about the arcane tradition of magic. So you can see a wizard there. There's a treatise about each tradition of magic. There are also a whole bunch of them about the schools of magic, like evocation, transmutation, and so on, which I can show here. We kind of show a spellcaster of each of those, specializing in each of those schools, and have some kind of things associated with those schools, like what colors do people in the world associate with transmutation, or what celestial body or colors, hero cards, that sort of thing.
Excellent. All right, well, let's move into chapter 2 on classes, which is a little bit more crunch than flavor. What are the 2 new classes for someone who's been living under a rock?
The 2 new classes are the Magus and the Summoner. We've done a playtest of these a while back, and we kind of developed them further after those playtest versions. These classes were both in first edition Pathfinder and are similar in concept, but play quite a bit differently. The Magus is the combination between magic and martial power, and is using a weapon and combining their spells into their weapon to do kind of incredible explosive attacks. I know that Jason Bowman is running a Secrets of Magic themed stream right now, and in the first couple sessions there were some big crits from the Magus that really really got the job done.
Oh yeah, I've been watching, and monsters go boom when the Magus crits. I mean, it's feast or famine. If you roll the dice and you try to spell strike and miss, you're gonna waste that spell, and you're gonna have a sad face. But boy, when it crits, it can take a monster down entirely. It's pretty powerful stuff. And then what's the other class that we have?
The other class is the Summoner, which is for the player who wants to have their character and also have a very important pet companion. So the Eidolon is what your summoned monster is called. You can see here our new iconic Ija with her dragon. And you can kind of customize your Eidolon. It's going to be a unique entity. It's not just kind of a random dragon. But this is her Eidolon, who I think is called Tuka, something like that. Tuku.
Doesn't roll off my tongue. Tuku. Yes, that's right. I was like, Tuku. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of this that like other people were developing the character, so I was kind of like, okay, insert the name of the dragon here.
Yes, and learning how to use the word Eidolon so that it just rolls off your tongue. These are new things we're all going to need to practice. Welcome to Secrets of Magic, new pronunciation. So those are great. I know there are different. Maybe we could briefly discuss the different, I'm going to call them subclasses of the Magus, the different ways they can specialize, and then a little bit about the ways the summoners can be very specific on their Eidolons. We don't have a lot of time left, but I think people are pretty hungry for that information.
Yeah. So the Magus, their hybrid study is what they use to kind of link the types of weaponry they're using with their spells. So there's the Starlit Span, which is the ranged Magus. Normally, a Magus is going to have to use melee attacks, but the Starlit Span one can put spells into arrows, crossbow bolts, so on. There's the Sparkling Targe, which is if you want to use a sword and shield or other one-handed weapon and shield. Inexorable Iron, which is good for big two-handed weapons. Laughing Shadow, which is kind of the sneakier or stealthier one, where you want one kind of lighter weapon and nothing in your other hand to let you kind of play some tricks. And then there's Twisting Tree, which is for if you want to be like classic spellcaster with a staff, you can kick people's butt with that staff with your spell strike. And then the Summoner, they have a few different kind of paths they can do within their feats to kind of change how they do their summoning and use their Eidolon. But the main thing that you're going to be looking at to kind of theme your character are the different types of Eidolons. So as I said, there's Dragon. There are also a bunch more. There is Fae, and you can see one of the Fae Eidolons here, an example there. There are a bunch more. There's Demon. There's a Devotion Phantom. Phantoms are kind of supernatural ghostly creatures. So there's one for anger and there's one for devotion. So you have a couple different ways you can kind of play that out since they're very kind of emotion-based creatures. And then there are some other options like constructs and demons. So you can really get a pretty good variety of different options.
Right. The categories, each Eidolon falls into primal, divine, arcane, or occult. Right.
That's
they
right.
have that affects the spells that the summoner can cast, and also sort of the nature of the Eidolon. It's all very
That's right.
thematic.
So like
streamlined.
this angel summoner here is going to be casting divine spells, for example. So yeah.
Oh, and just to circle back, I was looking at the comments on Twitch about the Magus and the hybrid study. I don't know, we might have missed it, but there is an unarmed, a weaponless or a unarmored, not armored,
right.
but
unarmed, yeah.
Unarmed, that's the word
yes.
I'm looking for. Unarmed version?
Yeah.
So you can punch or...
Right, yeah, you can you can put spells into your fists and just punch your way through. Absolutely.
Great. All right. I just kind of wanted to touch on the broad range of those things so that people would get a taste of what's coming.
Yeah, your best bet, any Magus can use their spell strike with their unarmed attacks, but if you take the Laughing Shadow, that's going to be the best choice for getting the most out of that, because that's kind of the one that likes you to have hands free.
Yeah. I mean, there's some flexibility in the way that you use it, but there are also ways that allow you to. It's a specialty, option. Well, then the next chapter is spells, and there's just a ton of them, and we've been seeing some of the new spells on the Paizo on our live stream, Secrets of Magic live stream, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific for 3 hours. So those characters have been wielding some of those new spells. We've seen some of the new cantrips and some of the new higher level spells, and there's just a lot of them. Is what I know.
Yeah.
Is there any theme there that people need to know about, or new categories of spells?
We've got some like mechanical categories and then some thematic categories. We talked a little bit about it in the introduction to the class, which is a nice cool piece of art of Lini fighting some Brox there. And then this kind of goes into detail on some of the themes. So there's some sub-themes like there are time spells, gravity spells, but then there's also new categories like the incarnate spells, which are a special type of summon that instead of creating, kind of a normal creature that comes and fights alongside you that you command, this one just shows up, wrecks things for a round, and then leaves on the next round. So it has a big arrival effect, and then it has a big departure effect when it leaves. So
didn't get out.
If you want to think of it kind of like it's like a Final Fantasy summon in the earlier games, where they just kind of make an impact, leave all your enemies hurting.
Great.
I'm looking for the illustration of one. Here we go.
Yeah.
If you'd like to
Hey,
summon
off the
an
top of-
archmage, you can do that.
Nice. Oh, a mage summoning a mage. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yo, dog, I heard you like mages.
About 100 new spells, hundreds of new spells. Where do we stand?
There are about 200. There are about 200 in the book.
Mhm.
That's including the rituals and the focus spells. But
Sure.
there's nearly 200 of the kind of spell slot spells, and then the focus spells and rituals put it to over 200.
Great. Okay. Well, we're running tight on time. Of course, there's a whole chapter on new magic items, and then the Book of Unlimited Magic. I'm gonna make the executive decision that we're gonna switch to just talk a little bit about the Book of Unlimited Magic.
Okay.
Because yeah, that's about what we have time for.
All right. So the Book of Unlimited Magic is kind of just kind of like, what are some really weird, interesting things we can do with magic, and how can we implement those in the rules? It kind of was step 2. We thought first, like, what are some neat things ways magic has been represented in fiction, and so we've got cathartic magic, which is using your emotions to cast your spells, and you go into an emotional fervor, a little bit akin to a barbarian's rage, where you're consumed with the power of love or of pride or of fear, and use that for your magic. There's elementalism, which lets you can be an entirely elemental themed caster, and you get all the elemental spells, and can get additional abilities that let you use the elements in interesting ways. There's flexible preparation for if you want to be a prepared caster, but instead of preparing each of your spells individually, you can prepare a spell that you can use more flexibly with your slots. It's kind of in between a spontaneous and prepared caster. There's geomancy, which lets you call on the terrain around you to use the environment in your magic. There are ley lines to tap into kind of lines of mystical power that run throughout reality. There's pervasive magic. This is more of the campaign scale choice, where you say, I want everything to be magical in the whole world, or in this area that we're going to, and so everything has magical abilities. So it's going to mean, like, people who come from there have innate spells, monsters have spells, even if it's just a troll or some animal, they're still going to have some amount of magic. After that, there's shadow magic, which is fairly self-explanatory. You can cast things with shadowy themes. There are soul seeds, which is like relics from Game Mastery Guide, but tied to the person rather than an item. Soul-forged armaments, which are kind of like I want to summon my my weapon or my armor to me, and I want it tied to my being and my very nature. Great for champions, especially. Thessalonian rune magic, kind of a classic Pathfinder concept. This lets you become a kind of minor version of a rune lord with an archetype. True names, another kind of classic storytelling trope of magic. And then wellspring magic, which is kind of I've got this intense font of power inside me that is kind of uncontrollable but very powerful.
Amazing. That's quite a lot. That last chapter.
That's the full-fledged armaments.
Yeah. Our paladin, our champion.
Yeah.
With her soul-forged armor. That's amazing. I have to tell you, the art is incredible in this book. I know people have been raving about Mwangi. This is also intensely gorgeous, and the iconics get a lot of glory in all the spellcasting iconics get their moment in art, and I noticed that and really like it. It's bards and occult magic. It's all there. I think we've got just a couple minutes left, so as much as I was hoping to kind of take some questions from Twitch and from the blogs, we should skip to how people can find you and what your Paizo Live spoiler is.
All right, people can find me on Twitter. I'm at Logan Bonner. Just my name, no underscore or anything like that. For my spoiler, I actually want to get a little help from the chat. If someone could, I need one person to give me a tradition of magic that's arcane, divine, occult, or primal, and I need another person to give me a level between 1 and 10 for the level of the spell.
All right, the
We're going
first
to
one
do
I
a
saw was
little experience.
Arcane.
Okay, Arcane.
The Arcane, and then the next number I saw was 3. You need a level?
All right, so an Arcane 3rd level spell. I think
go.
we are going to say that the chat has decided to cast Time Jump. So they're going to hop forward in time, disappear for a little while, and then return to us. But what I didn't tell you is that you were a Wellspring mage all along, and your Wellspring magic check, you have failed it and need to have a Wellspring surge. So I also need someone to roll me a d20 and tell me the result. A Wellspring surge is when your Wellspring magic kind of goes out of control and kind of explodes out of it.
The first number I saw was a 3.
A 3. Mass Siphon. Creatures and objects in a 30-foot emanation become nearly weightless. So creatures can climb up things as though they're climbing to their land speed, and they can leap really far. So you've got kind of a field of weightlessness around you. So that's what you're going to have to deal with, chat. Enjoy your weightlessness for the next round.
It was a time jump or a time hop?
Time jump, yeah.
Time jump, great. And then weightlessness. That's great. That's going to add a lot of magical chaos to the game, and I'm sure everybody's looking forward to it. Once again, Secrets of Magic, Pathfinder Secrets of Magic, will be available Wednesday, August 25th at your favorite local game store in hardcover, in deluxe edition, special edition, limited edition. We only print it once, and then it's gone. And lastly, softcover pocket edition for people who like that compact option, and via PDF. On the 25th, on Wednesday the 25th. If you're interested in rulebooks like this, make sure you subscribe to the Pathfinder rulebook line. Thank you very much, Logan, for having us in your home today and giving us an overview of Pathfinder Secrets of Magic. There's so much to explore. We, of course, didn't have enough time. We could have spent 2 hours on this book alone. It's amazing. Yeah. So thank you for the glimpse.
I look forward to people discovering things.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about it for weeks and months to come. So thank you for your time. I'm going to go ahead and just begin my sign off. I need to let you know that we have a Starfinder Humble Bundle that's going on right now. Go to humblebundle.com. If you're not familiar with that, it's a great way to get a lot of product at a very low price and contribute to charity. In this case, we have a lot of Starfinder PDFs, as well as hardcover copies of the Starfinder Pact Worlds rulebook and the Starfinder Beginner Box available at the top tier. So you decide which tier you want to pay at, and then the vast majority of those products are PDFs that you'll get codes for to download at Paizo.com. But those last 2 items are physical. And we will ship them to you. Of course, you have to pay for shipping, and so it's going to be best for people who are physically closest to Washington State and our Redmond warehouse, and international shipping rates will apply. It's an incredible deal. It's a great way to get involved in Starfinder, and it's raising money for comic books for kids. We've raised over $30,000 for charity so far, and we'd love you to check it out at humblebundle.com. In addition, we have a Starfinder playtest that's going on right now for a new class called the Evolutionist, and we'd love you to check that out. You can go to the Starfinder landing page, and at the bottom of it, there's a banner that will take you to the playtest, or you can go to Paizo.com/Starfinder playtest, and that will take you to the playtest. It goes into September 24th. And we need you to kick the tires on that new Starfinder class and give us your feedback to make it the best it possibly can be, because our designers and our developers definitely listen to your feedback. You can, of course, find us on Twitter, Facebook, Paizo.com. We're on Instagram and YouTube And here on Twitch, we're in all the social media places. You can sign up for our email news every week, so you make sure you don't miss a blog and you don't miss an announcement. Lastly, I just want to let you know that we're going to raid a show here that has probably just started. Hyper RPG is putting on a Starfinder one-shot sponsored by Humble Bundle, and we've got some of our we've got some familiar faces participating and some fresh faces to Starfinder, and so we're just going to raid that channel and enjoy getting to know Starfinder for the next few hours with Hyper RPG. Thanks for coming, and adventures ahead.